Welcome to Peacecapes, a channel that speaks on self-led approaches to better well-being, mental health, and overall cultivating a more peaceful life. Thank you to everyone that commented on the last video, liked it, sent me personal messages around, their own stories in diabetes remission and diabetes living. It was very encouraging for me, and also just encouraging to hear all your stories. It was a really good video and it was received really well. So as you saw at the end of the last video, there was a message about lost footage, which, you know what, everything happens for a reason, so I'm just gonna take it with that. So yes, here we are for part 2, where I'm going to go into a bit more detail about some more actions that I took during the time that I was working really hard to reverse my diabetes. So as I mentioned before, there was a lot of feedback on my last video around diabetes remission, and a lot of the comments were very positive, but there were a few comments that gave me a food of thought. And I really wanted to clear something up around diabetes remission versus diabetes reversing. And to be fair, I didn't make my stance clear in the school of thought that I kind of did a lot more research in, and I kind of aligned my beliefs in. So for me, my stance is that diabetes can go into remission. And I think it's better that I quickly, distinguish what the two differences are. So you have remission, where you can bring your sugar levels right down, bring your insulin levels into more healthier range, and you can live a life with diabetes that hopefully is drug free. So no insulin, no metformin, no other diabetes tablets, but you can live a lifestyle where it's just focusing on diet management to manage your sugar levels. Whereas diabetes reversal, that school of thought really talks about reversing the disease. Now, I'm not saying miracles can't happen. I'm not even saying that you can't be cured, but that school of thought believes that you can bring your sugar levels so low enough that you're completely cured. And what I can say from my own experience, but also experience of other people that I know that had the disease for some time, if you don't manage your diet in a healthy way, those sugar levels will slowly but surely creep back up, and then you'll find yourself back on medication or just having higher levels of sugar in your body, and your body resisting the insulin that's needed to bring the sugar down. So I want to make it very clear that my video is really speaking on diabetes remission. So you won't be hearing the word reversal in this video. I'm going to be very much talking about remission. If you are looking for a reversal type of cure or a reversal type of video that talks about fully curing diabetes, definitely seek other videos on YouTube, Instagram, online. You can definitely find it there. So the purpose of this particular video is to talk more about my actions and the actions I took. I'm going to be talking a bit more about, or just going into a bit more detail about some of the decisions I had to make, and how I made things more of my everyday life, if that makes sense. So one of the key decisions I had to make, and I may have hinted at this in my first video, was I had to make fitness my everyday. I had to make it a part of every activity, because if I just made it about the gym or the hour I took to go for a walk or a jog or go to a swimming session, it was just going to feel like another task added to my day. So I definitely decided to do things or do my daily stuff just a bit differently. So going to work, the commute to work, I changed it up quite a lot so that I can incorporate 20 minutes of walking or even a slight jog. And how I did that was I switched out my route. So I would then I then chose the second station closest to my home, and that gave me time to walk or jog to that station, going to work or from work. And you don't realize like how much 20 minutes times that by 2 becomes 40 minutes a day that you're actually bringing in exercise into like just your normal daily life. And that's not you having to think about putting on trainers, putting on, you know, your gym clothes and going to the gym. This is an activity that you do anyway, and you can just adjust it to make it a bit more harder or a bit more resistance in your day-to-day activities. I hope that made a lot more sense. So yeah, so just to make that clear, it was an additional 40 minutes of activity that required me to basically do nothing additional other than taking a longer walk to the underground station and still getting to work on time. I hope my boss ain't seeing this. Sorry boss. But yes, so definitely that definitely was a good thing for me. I've got notes, so you keep seeing me look down. That's what I'm looking at. So another thing I did was shopping. Decided to not use public transport or to use a car, unless it was a massive shop, then obviously yes, I would use it. But I bought one of the shopping trolleys that helped me to carry my shopping in. I walked there, I walked back. The shopping was a bit of weight resistance, so I had something to pull with me. And that was another day-to-day activity that helped me to incorporate more exercise and just more activity in my week without having to put trainers on, go to the gym, go swimming, and so forth. Another thing that I don't really think I had much choice in this one. I actually got a pet. I got a dog. He was definitely like a rescue mission. And I had to walk him every day. So in the beginning, he wasn't used to the area where I currently live in London, and we had to basically show him a bit of the area, and I just used those walks to add on like an extra 10 minutes or extra 15 minutes some days to put in more steps and to kind of kill two birds with one stone. It was to walk him, but also to put more steps in my everyday life. And now because of him I have to walk every day anyway, so even if I had missed a gym, with those 3 tips that I just spoke about, I was moving all the time. So that was something that really kept the weight either steady or down, and also my sugar levels were able to stay at a really low pace because I was moving a lot more than I was doing before, and literally the weight was just dropping. Another thing that I did now going probably to the gym and more like active work around fitness planning, if you want to call it that, I decided to kind of strip back everything and learn about what it was that I would find more fun in fitness. I knew that I could do the gym. I didn't always dread the gym. Sometimes I actually really liked it, especially when I was extremely overwhelmed or had a really stressful day or week. The gym was really good for me. But I knew that activity couldn't be the only thing that could sustain me. I had to keep going and trying something new. So I tried things like Zumba. I hated that. I don't think I lasted more than 60 seconds before I walked out the class, so that was not for me. Yeah, I'm considering whether I should tell you the story, but I think I'm going to leave that for another day. Then another thing that I tried was boxercise. That was really good, actually. It was very invigorating. That's the word I can use for that particular class. It was very invigorating. It was interesting, put it like that. And I did enjoy it, but unfortunately that class stopped at my gym, so I couldn't actually keep up with the class, or the class got cancelled, so eventually it was off the weekly class schedule. Then I fell in love with Pilates. That was the thing I think surprised me the most, because I tried yoga before, and like most people that do not know anything about yoga or Pilates, they're actually very different. Prior to that, I thought they were exactly the same with a slight different variation and whatever not. So I had tried yoga once, and it was okay, but I don't think it was really for me. And then I decided to try Pilates, and oh my gosh, I felt like it love bombed me. Pilates was challenging, it was difficult, but also it was strengthening and it was relaxing at the same time. Those two just sound like an oxymoron. Like, it doesn't, they sound like they should collide, and it doesn't. For me, Pilates was really powerful in me relaxing and learning about different parts of my body. I mean, I felt muscle strain in areas I didn't even know muscles were. So, and that's probably just my ignorance, but it's true. I felt aches and pains in areas I couldn't even comprehend why the pain was there in the first place, but it was really good. And what Pilates did for me was to listen to my body, was to get better acquainted with my body. So that was really good. And yeah, anybody that's thinking about Pilates, yes, just try to taste the class, see if you like it, see if it's for you, and if it's for you, you go, girl, boy, people, yeah, go. So another action that I took, and just kind of going away from the fitness stuff, was understanding my relationship with my food. As I said already, I did touch on this a little bit in the first video, but I don't think it was as clear, or I don't think I conveyed as much as I wanted to in that video. So I had to really understand what my diet was saying to me, or what my diet really was, because as I said before, food for me was an everyday occasion. It wasn't something that you thought about, it's just something you did. Whether you're happy, sad, great, whatever, it was just something that you did. And I had to understand that there were times that my emotions was dictating how I was eating, and that may have also included binge eating. I found that really embarrassing to admit to myself at first, that I was binge eating. I don't think I even knew what the term was until I really started to do some research into it. And basically, binge eating, and how I can describe it and how I understood it, was that there were times where you felt this just overwhelming power of hunger that was never filled. It was never fulfilled. You could eat and eat and eat, and it was wouldn't. And I remembered that when I learned that definition, I then had to look in myself and thought, oh my gosh, there were days where I was just eating for the sake of eating, eating for being bored, eating for anything. And I had to really scale back that and look at my food differently. So what I actually did was look at different diets that would help my particular health needs and the goals that I was working towards, and the goals I am working towards. And I actually decided to jump on the keto diet. And basically, in a nutshell, the keto diet is a high fat, high protein diet. Now, there is so much information out there, and I don't want to make this a whole video about keto, but basically, in the most simplest forms, you're focusing on meats, fish, all those kind of good stuff, with maybe some I don't know, avocados, vegetables, anything other than refined carbs like rice, pastas, bread, what else? Potatoes, anything that's so dense and quite carb heavy. I think even some days when I wasn't too sure what I could eat and what I shouldn't be eating, I actually just decided to look at my plate like the rainbow. Has it got more colours in it, or was it just more of the white plain slate? Like, is there a lot of white creams going on in the plate, or is there a lot of colours going on? So is there a lot of greens and reds, and is my vegetable uptake enough? So that was the best way I could describe it. I'm definitely going to link a video either up here, or it's going to be in the description bar below, on some of the key videos that I watched to really understand what the keto diet was about. And yes, so if you really want to understand a bit more about keto and ketones and all that stuff, it will be in the description below. Another useful thing that helped me to curtail my poor eating habits, and let me be very frank with you, I still have, and I still fight, and I'm still challenged by my eating habits, even to this day. So even after losing, how much I lost? Even after losing around about 40 plus pounds, I still have times where, yes, I dip in, I dip out, I just have an off day, maybe even an off week. I'll go as far as to say that. But this keto diet and the next tip that's coming up helps me to kind of restart where I'm at and just keep pushing forward. So the next tip that I used that really helped me was the MyFitnessPal app. I had downloaded it, I'm going to say maybe a year before or 2 years before I even made a really concerted effort to work on my health. But I don't think I was really using it very much. But the section around the macros and the food part was a really big aid to me managing my daily calorie intake, but also understanding the food groups, some of the foods I was eating and snacks I was eating and where they belong to. So even if I didn't understand them myself in regards to fats, proteins, carbs, you could use the scanner that's on the MyFitnessPal app, and it will show you what that food group belongs to, how much sugar's in it, how much fat's in it, how much protein's in it. And it really helped me to just kind of plan out my meal plan and plan out my food for that week or day or however long I was planning for. So as I mentioned before, there was another tip that another action that I took, and that was something called intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is, I'd have to say, for me, it wasn't just an action I took just for my food, because for me, this time round on this journey of bettering my health was really also rooted in my faith. So fasting is definitely part of my faith that we do, and intermittent fasting allowed me to, I don't use the word practice because no, that's not right, but it allowed me to feel more connected in my faith, but it also was instrumental in regulating cell, I'm going to pronounce this word, I hope I haven't said it wrong, so please don't come for me, cell autophagy or aphagy, one of those two. And basically where my body was able to go for long periods of time without food and then rely on the fat reserves that are already in my body to basically have it to run. So just imagine a car that, just imagine like a hybrid car. When it runs out of petrol, it can then go onto the electricity. And that's basically what happens with intermittent fasting. When you get past, I'm going to say maybe the 14 to 16 hour mark, your body then kicks into like, oh my gosh, survival mode. And then it starts to use some of the energy, like fat or like fat, to keep it going. All that energy you need to just get up and walk to, you know, your bedroom or go to work, all that stuff that the body needs is actually already, it's got a reserve, and a lot of that can be in your fat. When you get to more healthier weights or your fat weight is much lower, it will then start to use other things like proteins and muscle mass and things like that to feed itself when it's no longer taking energy in a certain or in a period of time. So intermittent fasting, I started off on the 16-8, so that's where I fasted for 16 hours and I had an 8-hour window gap and where I could actually eat. And in that time I was trying to eat as much as I possibly could my keto based diet, and the intermittent fasting combined with the intermittent fast the intermittent fasting combined with the keto based diet was something that really contributed, I would say, to my sugar levels dropping. Another thing that I did with the intermittent fasting was that I slowly progressed to more advanced levels of the fasting. So I think after maybe the first 2 months, I took a break and then I went back into it for a week, and then I then increased my fasting for, I'm gonna say, maybe 18/6 and then 24. So basically meaning 18 hours fasting, 6 hours window for eating. Then I also did 20 hours one week and 4-hour eating window. I also did try OMAD for a period of time where you just had one meal for the day. I would say it's something that you can definitely do, but I usually do that when I do a reset. So let's say, for example, I haven't fasted for a bit, or I've eaten a bit off for, let's say, a period of time, and I want to reset my body. I would do a 24-hour fast and then eat a meal. And that's my reset, really. And then I'll do it again for maybe 20 hours and then eat one meal. So OMAD is basically one meal a day. That's basically what it stands for. And that would usually help me when I want to do like a reset. I really want maybe I feel a bit gunky, or I've just come off flu, or I've been unwell and I've just kind of eaten whatever I could or whatever my body could take at the time. Now I'm feeling better, I would do an OMAD where I fast for a long period of time and I just eat for once a day. Another big tip that I did was that I had a plan for if I had like a safety net plan. If I had a bad week or something had happened where I didn't go gym, I didn't eat or whatever, I had a plan. And my plan consisted of 3 core strategies. Firstly, one was prayer. 2, it was speaking to my support network, and that included friends and family. The next tip was me journaling. I feel like I did that, but I feel like I could have done it way more. Journaling was something that I did. I always felt like when I hit rock bottom, or I lacked motivation, or I was doubting myself, and then I'd take out the pen. And I think journaling is underrated. We should actually use it a bit more frequently so that we're not having to reach rock bottom before we take out the pen or take out a pencil to draw or write or express ourselves in any way. I'd also recommend maybe accessing wellbeing services, so maybe speaking to a therapist or a counsellor, especially when you're doing a journey like this. This journey is very mentally and emotionally challenging. It's not easy. Well, it wasn't easy for me. For other people it might be, but for me it wasn't easy. And I would say that, you know, if you've got someone that you can speak to that's professional, and that's also outside of your like close knit family and friends, it's good to have that kind of level of objectivity in support. So you could speak to them about other things that are triggering you, what's throwing you off your diet, all those things. You know, therapists can help you and give you strategies from a more objective point of view. So another major action that I took was that at times I decided to not be so hard on myself. And for me, that was difficult because I always felt like the more hard I was on myself was the more I was going to stay disciplined. And that sometimes that works, but then there were other times when life just came in and hit me like a wave and I couldn't focus. It was a struggle. It was difficult. Even at times extremely emotional. I let myself have downtime. And I know that even more recently in my health journey, I gave myself downtime because personally and as a family, we went through a lot of things that are really difficult to manage. And I gave myself that time. So, and what I mean by downtime was if I went to the gym, I went to the gym. If I did my walks every day, I did my walks every day. If I didn't do any of those 2, then I just didn't do it. I was not going to stress about it. As long as I knew that my sugar levels were in a good range, I didn't over fuss about having the plan and keeping to it all the time, especially when life hits you that hard and you're dealing with things that are so overwhelming that it's even just a struggle to get up in the morning. Then don't overpush it. Give yourself that time and that downtime. I think the best way that I thought of it was basketball players. They have their off season and their on season, and I gave myself an off season when I needed it. And that off season could have looked like a week, 2 weeks, or even a month. So yeah, it's not about rushing through this journey. It's not, because it's not sustainable. If you rush through the journey and you don't actually learn about yourself and challenge yourself and also give yourself time to rest and catch up and what's the word, recalibrate, then once you get to that end goal, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I got here, but now how do I sustain? You have to learn as you go along this journey. You have to find out what your triggers are going to be, how you respond to those triggers, then practice new ways on how to respond to those triggers. So yeah, if it's failure that's your trigger, then learn how you process failure. Start learning a bit more about how you tackle each trigger. Don't just rush through this weight loss program thinking it's all about weight. No, weight was a symptom of the more internal things that we are dealing with, whether that's discipline, habitual behaviors, whether that's us learning how we process difficult and negative situations. The weight isn't the problem, it's the other things that have led us to behave a certain way that has contributed to us gaining weight or losing weight or whatever. And it could also be how we manage our diabetes. As I said to you in the first video, I really struggled with that diagnosis when I first got it. And I think because I struggled with it, I just avoided it. I took my medication and didn't think about it after that. I never dealt with the emotions that came with the diagnosis. I didn't take time to learn about the disorder. I didn't even think I could even get better with diabetes and live a much more healthier life with it. I just saw it as a bad thing and I didn't care, and what difference did it make? And it took me a long time. As I said to you before, I was diagnosed back in 2012, and it wasn't until 2019 that I started to think, okay, I'm accepting that I have diabetes and I'm going to learn to live with this in a much more positive way and a less avoidant way, like I have the last 7 years. So as I said, it's definitely about understanding that this journey is a process. It's a learning process, it's a believing process, it's a faith process, all in one. You can't just run this off, because as I said, the weight isn't just the issue, it's everything that contributed to the weight in the first place. So if you enjoyed this video, please comment, like and subscribe. I have very much thoroughly enjoyed talking about this part of the series, talking about peace in health. It has been a pleasure hearing from other people and their stories, and just what other people have gone through. And it's been a massive learning curve for me, learning from groups and other organizations that talk about diabetes health and how to live with it in a much more healthier way.